Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just saying hello in the YouTube chat, reminding people to ask questions and request topics. Let me pop out that chat so I can keep an eye on it. I am currently setting up a new feature in YouTube. So with YouTube, we always depend upon subscriptions. So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. The thing about subscriptions in YouTube is the more subscriptions you get, the more cool features they enable for you. So when you subscribe to our channel, we get to do cool things like, make memberships where you get badges and cool emojis and extra call outs. So by subscribing to us, we can help you get cool features that you might really like and enjoy and help you engage with the show, which I would like to see more of. So if you want to be more involved in participating in the show and have call outs and cool things you can do while the show is going on, please subscribe. So Lee, you're well into your current round of your course. So what has happened so far? Have you started to see any results from your students? Because it's a real-time thing. Like people homework and they do it and then they talk about the results. What results are people seeing so far?
Well, they're seeing really good results. It starts off first by just making sure that the site fundamentally is sound, and there's always little things that we can find. Sometimes it's the stupid little things that hold the brakes on. Like I dealt with one person that had a small technical issue on their site. Took us, I don't know, 15 minutes to go through a series of steps to diagnose it. Once we diagnosed it, I think last week they were ranking for like 250 keywords, and now this week it's almost 600 keywords that they're ranking for. So it just kind of like unlocked their e-commerce site for a whole bunch of things. And once we get into link building and stuff, that's only going to expand further. We've got a lot of people that are seeing major jumps from the one that was kind of had me tickled last week was somebody jumped from outside of the top 100 to number 6 in about 48 hours. So
Nice.
Those kind of moves are nice to see. They're not always that dramatic. Sometimes they're more dramatic than that, but most of the time you're just getting good solid jumps up for your primary keywords, and we're really happy to see what people have been able to do thus far. So
yeah, most of your students tend to take the training multiple times, and I know I've taken the training just about every time you've offered it. And I really remember the third time through because I face planted hard. I had a technical SEO issue and I ruined the whole third iteration of your training because my page went to shit with Google, and it took me almost 6 of the 8 weeks to dig myself out of a pit. And so ever since then, I kind of pivoted to diagnosing the health of a web page before attempting to rank it. And I've started really teaching that to Quora customers when they're onboarded, that you really want to look for these problems up front, especially if you're doing client SEO, because what we do so often is we sell a package to rank a page. But when you look at the page, if you see these certain kinds of technical SEO problems, it's like you have a project, an SEO project to do that's its own body of work before you can do the work of ranking the page. And so if you have that nightmare, you want to identify it up front, because if you say, I'm going to rank your page in 3 months, but you need 3 months of cleanup because there's a pre-existing condition, you end up getting fired and getting bad reviews for a mess you didn't even create. It's just, and so, yeah, I've been using the volatility tool in Cora, looking at the time sharing percentage, the little percentage that's either red or green. And when it's red, it's like this phenomenal indicator of you might have trouble ranking this out of the gate. But when it's green, it's been like a really good indicator that, oh, I can apply on-page SEO and see results, by tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And so yeah, in these things, always look at the health of the ranking. And what's weird is a lot of people think that the health of the ranking is how well it ranks, but it's not. It's more like what percentage of search does this exact URL appear in when you search for the keyword. Mm-hmm. And what we tend to find is that if you rank, 12th, or if you rank 137th, a good SEO doesn't care, because the amount of SEO work you need to do to go from 12 to 1 or for 137 to 1, it's the same amount of SEO work. There's like no difference. And the only real difference is the perception in the eyes of the client, because they're like, you took me from 137 all the way to 1. But it's the same amount of effort as going from 4 to 1, most likely. I mean, there might be negligible differences, but getting to that number 1 spot is a mountain of work. Yeah, it's just, it's interesting. I'm as I get more mature in my SEO career, I'm really falling into these diagnostics and avoiding the shitty gig. And so detecting the shitty gig is like a really valuable skill to me now. What do you think, Clint? You encounter a lot of situations. Clint is quiet. He's thinking.
Well, so a couple of things there. Go ahead, Clint, if you've got your thing. I was going to say there's 2 things. One, I'd love to have that as a testimonial. Took Lee's training, face planted hard. I mean, that's like, like the ultimate testimonial there. But yeah, the volatility tool is a great underutilized tool, because in this particular, this last week, I was working with somebody who had done all the SEO to the page and they still couldn't break in the top 100. And I said, all right, well, let's go take a look at a few things. So we went through and there was nothing, inherently wrong with the page. So we threw it in the volatility tool. Here's a tip for everybody. If you're using the volatility tool, do a site colon, the domain, domain.com and your keyword, and see if Google even thinks the page that you're thinking about that should be ranking, if they think that that's the most important page on your site. In this particular individual's case, the page that they'd optimized, Google found to be the 3rd most important page on their site for that keyword. So forget winning the SERP. They weren't even winning their own website ranking derby there. And lo and behold, what happened was that the page they optimized had 0 backlinks, and the other 2 pages were pretty decently optimized and had a lot of backlinks. So I'm like, well, that's what you have to go solve first. It's not a technical or anything else. You have a link problem, on that particular situation. But the volatility tool was a great way of, diagnosing that little bug in their setup.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you're an established SEO with the client roster, that's kind of the threshold of where Lee's training might be appropriate for you. So if you have a roster of clients and you can apply SEO wisdom quickly to get an ROI on your efforts and get your money back, because that's the key thing. Whenever you invest in SEO stuff, you need to get your money back. So if you have a roster of clients and you want to check out Lee's training, test at SEOtraining.com. I'll warn you, it's a Quora heavy course. So if you hate Quora, it's probably not for you. But yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. Clint, what's new with SIA? You haven't talked about them in a while.
No, just still plugging away, doing a lot of testing and stuff. Just got to publish more. Open that new Discord group. That's going okay.
What are the coolest 3 tests you've done this year?
No, I'm not saying.
You don't have to tell us the result. Tell us the topic.
I'm working a lot with semantics now. Think like Corey, Corey from Holistic SEO. He talks real stupid high level stuff. And I just went out and just bought a whole bunch of tech books on semantics and the study of language, and found a couple professors that share their stuff publicly on YouTube, and it dumbed it down. And some of the stuff, when you combine it with what other people are teaching, Corey, for example, Jimmy Kelly, Greg Morrison, when his reverse sink or swim, and you look at it from that semantic perspective, we've been doing semantic SEO forever. We just kind of didn't put the pieces together correctly. And in that, we're finding new and exciting ways to write relevant content without really having to do relevant content. And it gave me a really good insight into what the guys over at InLinks are doing with their editor. So if you never used InLinks before, or like a Surfer or ClearScope, you go in there and you add the words and your score goes up. InLinks is not that way. InLinks, you actually have to form the topic. And he's using, if my assumption is correct, he's using semantic system to actually formulate the topic, which is 1, 2, 3 word phrases to form that topic. So I think it's pretty interesting, kind of game changing, and fixing a lot of stuff in the franchise system that we had. We had a lot of sites. We had some sites that were just busted ass, and just doing simple semantic changes just to the title tag. We're killing it.
Yeah, I like that approach. I think that's great. I think it's got one more thing it needs to add to it, and his system will be deadly. And that is to correlate it with search result prediction position. So how predictive is what he's telling you of the order of the search results? And
I think I talked about that with him, and he didn't want to chase the rabbit, kind of like be like everyone else's tools. So I think that's why that prediction is not there. I think it's intentional.
Well, that's a lossiness of very important information. It's like it's trending. How much or how likely is his method to be similar to something that Google is actually doing and using?
Yeah.
And so
I think that's where the value is. Like, as I always talk, I said 3 tools is better than 1 tool. And that's where the value of bringing in InLinks, for example, or Quora, after you've already done the phrase and the ClearScope, and it just kind of formulates a much clearer picture than just using 1 tool all by itself. Even with Quora's got, 1 tool all by itself. We're caveating on the Lee's course. I didn't learn a whole lot with Lee's course, but I learned a whole new way to look at Quora data. So even if or data at all, right? So I can take the same fundamental stuff that he's teaching and go to any of those other on-page tools, Website Auditor, Page Optimizer Pro, Surfer, if you're retarded and want to go in there and look at all those broke-ass graphs, and apply the way that Lee's looking at the data. And that's what I got out of his course. So it's not necessarily... Yes, it is Quora heavy, but I don't think you need Quora to actually apply what he's doing.
I could see that. I could see that. It would be difficult to practice it with the class, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know what inlinks is, it's an entities tool set. I mean, it's more than just entities, but at its fundamental core, it's an entities extractor, and it does a really good job of it. But it's also a paid tool, so you're gonna pay a pretty heavy price to get, you know, what is arguably considered the best entity tool out there at the moment.
It's only 79 for the plan that I have. That gets the access to the API to connect with Quora.
Oh,
The initial plan I was paying for was only like $39. It's pretty cheap, actually.
actually, that's fantastic, because
Yeah.
when I did the integration, you had to have a certain level to get the API access, and it was hundreds of dollars. So
Yeah, no, they
he opened
changed
that up.
it. They
Sweet.
changed it. Thankfully,
All
they
right.
changed it.
All right. Well, even better. So I stand corrected on pricing. So cool. Yeah, that's amazing. All right. So let's see. We got some questions coming up. Let's see what we have here. Good morning from snowy New Jersey. All right, good to know the weather. Can you give us some examples? What is the most common issue? So this was face planning with the training and using volatility to diagnose technical issues. So a few of the ones we see commonly are keyword cannibalization. So SEO gets a client, client says, I want this URL to rank better. The SEO dives into ranking the URL. 6 weeks go by of tuning the page and trying to improve the rankings. Client says, we're not seeing any traffic. It's not going well. We're going to end the engagement. Then you notice that you've been cannibalizing with 2 other URLs. So all your efforts went into the URL that maybe appeared 5 or 10% of the time. Because you didn't fix the keyword cannibalization that was a pre-existing condition, you rushed into ranking one of the rare pages. Now you're kind of in a hurt locker. Another issue, the web server could be throwing errors intermittently, could be an engineering problem, throwing errors. Google isn't ranking that page well because often when they check, it throws an error to Googlebot too. And so you're tuning a page to make it rank better. And even though it's live at the moment, it doesn't mean it's going to rank well because Googlebot doesn't trust the page to actually exist when they visit it. You could find that you have volatility issues where Google is split testing different titles and descriptions. And most of the time that's fairly benign. Like you'll rank, 6 or 7 based on what title Google picks. But sometimes it is like crazy volatile. Like it'll be the difference between ranking number 5 and ranking page 5 based on what title or description Google happens to pick. And in those cases, you have to act. So we see lots of things like that. And usually the way out is to tune whatever aspect of the page Google is like split testing or uncertain of, to tune that for relevancy. Oftentimes people won't populate a meta description, or they'll CRO the meta description, and Google will say this meta description doesn't even reflect what the page is about. So you need to go back and make the meta description about the content of the page, and you need to make it more relevant than the phrases Google is testing. Because those are the best representative phrases Google could find. You need to be better than those phrases. And then if you do that right, it ends up being a trial and error thing. But if you do that right, you can usually gain control of what's being presented in search and get the better of the, rankings you are seeing in those presentations. Any thoughts on diagnosing pre-existing conditions?
Well, I think one of the ones that as you were talking, I was remembering in your own particular case, it was the Top SEO Factors website, when you looked in Search Console and found out you stopped ranking for SEO Factors terms and started ranking for SEMrush terms because you had it mentioned twice on the page.
Yeah, that's exactly how I face planted that round of the course, but I don't think that's a common one. So he asked for the common ones.
Yeah,
that one I've only seen once or twice in my whole career. So
no, but what I have seen, what I have seen in that is you're sitting there and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to rank this, page for for wool socks," and you go into Search Console and you find out you're getting a lot of impressions for sandals or different types of footwear, and you're like, so it's basically telling you that you're not on topic. You're not in the socks, primary space. You're adjacent to it, and that may be the struggle for your
no, that's very common. Targeting issues, very common. My issue though was I was targeting a keyword hundreds of times, and I had 2 mentions of something else way down on the page.
Yeah,
the 2 mentions way down on the page was what the page was ranking for, and that's a very rare one. But yeah, getting the targeting wrong, very common. That's top of the audit funnel for me, is look at targeting first, because if they're targeting a terrible keyword, it doesn't matter if you win it.
yeah.
Clint looks like he needs more coffee.
I think maybe Clint, when you started talking earlier about user engagement on the channel and some new features, I think what he and I heard was you're tired of talking to the 2 of us and you want to see new people.
No, I just, I'm working on growing the channel again, and so the membership, when that gets up and running, the way it'll work is we'll take those funds and funnel it into promoting the channel. So that's our goal, is to get a louder voice and to try and grow the audience size. And also to remind people, for any channel you like, whether it's ours or someone else's, be sure to subscribe, because those features only get enabled when people subscribe. So that's the only way we can do it. Let's see, SEO beer and barbecue. So that's supposed to be a new upcoming YouTube channel. We might have to see what they're up to lately. They say always run an audit before starting mayhem, and yeah, good advice. Topic request. Do you have any opinion on anchor text backlinks? Yes, we have lots of opinions on those. Can you do too much exact match? The anecdotal understanding of the community is that too much exact match will hurt you. I believe there is some truth to that. My experience is I do as little off page as I can, so the less I can do, the better. But I do want to get the result I need to get. So I'm going to push it until I get that result, and then I'm going to try to stop. Oftentimes I can get away with just, one press release to a page. And if it's a one and done thing and I'm walking away, then I don't mind I don't mind using the exact match so much. Like I do that fairly commonly on small websites where one press release and done with it is good enough. I think that's fine. When you start getting into lots of press releases or lots of different link building techniques or black hat techniques, I think you have to be more mindful of it. What do you think, Clint? This is kind of your playground, is this exact topic.
Well, it's hard to, in regards to the exact match, that answer is actually kind of complicated. If you follow the norm, you have a percentage that Google is looking for your keywords, and then if you go above that, you have the potential to trigger Penguin. And when Penguin came out and everyone lost all their rankings, it's the exact thing that they taught was the problem. And then they told everyone only do 1% exact match ever on your pages, or Penguin's going to get you. But what happened was that if you don't use exact match for your anchor text, you dilute the purpose of, you basically tell Google that your page is about everything but what your exact target was. So you got to use it. And then the other side of that, if you want to go to the extremes, I mean, you and I, we did that footer link test with exact match anchors at 15,000 backlinks, 15,000 exact match anchors. I mean, I don't think you can get any more over the top other than turning on GSA and just running it for a few weeks and getting a few million links. So,
yeah. In testing or doing, black hat stuff, yeah, I've done situations like, my old link networks of, mass pages. I would do 50,000, 100,000 exact match anchors at a time, and I'd boost pages with it.
Yeah, and that still works. And then in the middle, I think in the middle is a PR. So you go to like Imagine Service and you get PR, you throw an exact match domain or anchor in there, and you get links on 400 to 600 URLs, depending on how good his network's working at that time. There's no real right or wrong answer anymore on those anchor things. As long as your anchor is relevant. If you're out using generic anchors, or you're not using branding, you're not using your URL every once in a while, you're gonna get in trouble. But on the flip side of that, you need to be using your related terms, your exact match, your entities, highly related entities, the auto suggest, and Google will give you your anchors, your search console. If you rank your page right, I mean, they should give you 300 different queries that Google's related your page for. I mean, those are all your anchors. Google's giving you your anchor text. So
yeah, and kind of the vibe I'm getting out of Google is like culturally they're changing a little bit. And the thing I'm seeing in their culture of penalties that's shifting is they're kind of leaning more focus on punishing people who mislead searchers. So if you give an impression to searchers for one thing, then present another, that's kind of the unforgivable thing that I sense Google is trying to punish. And so, if your press release is an honest announcement on an honest topic that your page is honestly about, I think that gives you kind of your best cover that it's like, okay, this is okay, as long as you're not overdoing it, you're not going to super extremes. Because all white hat enterprise businesses are going to do press releases. That's just going to happen. And if you're an honest business that has things to announce, then you should announce them. That's what businesses have done and will continue to do. The problem becomes when you're, targeting how to train a puppy but selling Viagra. If you're doing that, you should look for pain. You should expect it.
I think Oh yeah, Clint's right. You know, when they started hitting you and saying, hey, if you have more than 1% exact match, you know, blah, blah, blah. Because what I see is people are afraid to do a press release because, oh my God, I'm going to have 500 exact match. I'll go to Google hell. And, you know, so the perceived limits of where the problem occurs is so much higher than people, you know, even imagine. So, you know, while I wouldn't fire up GSA and just, you know, go nuclear with an exact match, you know, press release or site-wide footer links or, you know, any of those sort of things are very, very effective tactics about communicating what your page is about.
Yeah, we got a super chat from Leon, just sending us some love. Thank you, Leon. Glad to see you here again. Another engineering SEO. So be interested to know what you're up to these days. So drop me a line. Let me know if you're doing any cool tests or anything. Let's see. All right. So got a message here from one Honey Witcher. You might have heard of her.
Oh, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Seeing lots of great results from a variety of people in a variety of niches and a different keyword competition levels in Lee's tested SEO training. So yeah, she's mentioning a lot of different keywords, a lot of different standards of SEO being needed. So for example, you might rank a plumber one way, but a national directory of golf stores another way. And so there's more than one way to rank a page. And she's saying that in the class, she's seeing lots of these different types of situations playing out where people have to do things differently. And that's so true. Don't ever let anyone tell you there's only one way to rank a page. That's a red flag that you're dealing with a charlatan. Let's see. Online Ninja says, I sent out press releases a year ago. It's valuable to put all URLs in a PDF and send it out. Oh, is it valuable to send it, put all the URLs in a PDF and submit that? You're kind of talking about boosting the press release, you know, linking schemes to get backlinks to your press releases, and that stuff works, but it isn't always necessary. So keep in mind that, you know, you might be able to do less work and get the results you're after, in which case you're more efficient with your time and better profits and so on.
It's pretty easy to do. I think what, Mads, you give a PDF with backlinks into it. There's no, go upload it to 10, 15 of those stupid sites, take you like 3 minutes if you have a tool to knock it out. And there you go. You've added backlinks to your backlinks. Now they'll stay indexed longer.
Yeah. Or create a QR code as well with the links.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it is there's not one magic way of building backlinks to your links. It's not like a PDF. Somebody in chat said, you know, use Google Docs. Other people, you know, have other methods of doing that. You know, just links to your links, man. Use whatever technique you want. Test it, make sure that it works. Is it getting you the results that you want for the resources you have to outlay, money and time?
Anything pointing at your money site is worth building backlinks to.
That's a decent nugget drop. If we had emojis, I would want to see some booms go right there. All right. Yeah, the member change to the channel will have the boom emoji. So I did that this morning. Let's see. Ted, you bring up a great point about identifying pre-existing SEO conditions. Technical SEO diagnosis isn't a common skill, though. Yeah, you know, it's really hard. It's the least developed part of the SEO industry is doing diagnostics for finding out why your website is not getting any love out of Google. And so there's a lot of art form in what exists today into figuring out people's theories, and then it comes back on us to kind of like test those theories to figure out what it might be. And a lot of times I have problems because I think some theories are better than others, and really I need to be open-minded because who knows, you know. Yeah, it's not a well-developed part of our industry, being able to do those diagnostics. And for the past year or so, I've really wanted to do an SEO diagnostics deep dive because I believe there are some really cool technologies and techniques that can come out of that. I just haven't had time to do it. There's only so many hours in a day. But yeah, I think that is a huge area of opportunity, because if you can diagnose those problems quickly and easily, man, people want that. Like, yeah, if you can tell me that this is a shit gig by pressing a button, that's a good button to click, 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 all day long. It would be step one of every audit ever done if you had a good button to do diagnostics. But the diagnostics have to tell you what's wrong. It can't just be, you know, I think this is a good one, this one is a bad one. It has to actually tell you, and it has to, you know, a good percentage of the time be right about what it's telling you. So it has to actually know some truth. All right, so most people struggle with the basic foundation of the site. Those really have to be addressed first. Yeah, I agree. And the technical stuff is part of that basic foundation. So if you get the technical stuff wrong, then you have cascading failures down the road, which include SEO and search. Lee, what type of link problem did that website have?
Oh, it was real simple. The 2 pages that Google thought were more relevant for the keyword had links. The one that they'd optimized for it had none. And it was a wide disparity in the number of links. So off page ruled in that particular instance.
And we have a spring training question. Why don't you hop on, Terry, and you can let us know if there's an answer yet or not. Is SEO spring training doing the streaming?
We are going to decide this week. We got the final bids in yesterday. And I had no idea how big of an expense it is. So yeah, we'll be deciding here in the, this week, and then announce it either way. We're looking at difference between streaming and then just recording. So the streaming part is pretty expensive. So but yeah, I'll let everybody know. We'll talk to all the speakers first before we make a decision, and it's up to them whether we do it or not in the long run anyway. So, but yeah, so we're getting close. It's just it's an expense. That's all
it's a big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're interested, go to the SEO spring training website and let them know through their contact form that you're interested. They want to hear about that. And you know, we'll see. No guarantees. We did the best we could to get that going for people who can't go. But you know, it will be what it'll be. But know that we're all trying. We're honestly trying. It's just, it's a bigger expense than you realize when you go to price it out. I mean, it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's not cheap.
Yeah, for sure. But we will do the best for everybody concerned. So that's for sure. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Terry.
No problem.
Let's see. What are your thoughts around Quora signals like bytes to first P tag? And those are low priority ones. They kind of indicate a problem with inline scripts and inline style sheets. And what you tend to see, so getting nerdy with the technical stuff that Clint hates, is what you tend to see is people tend to tune their WordPress themes for the best page load times and performance characteristics on a first impression. And there's a problem with that. If you have a website and traffic that tends to browse your website, that is the worst performance characteristic. What you want is the best performing characteristics for repeat views, people going from page to page. And so for page to page, you want caching. You want to have the browser cache the style sheets. You want the browser to cache the JavaScript. You don't want to put it inline where every page view has to transfer it over and over again, because even though that eliminates the asynchronous requests and gets your best first impression time, it makes your repeat impressions the worst they could possibly be, the most resource intensive page to page viewing pattern. Whereas if you have that expensive first impression, but then you cache all that stuff, then all of a sudden your second impression, third impression, 138th impression are all super fast. And so do you want good first impressions, or do you want really efficient average impressions? And so you have to think about what your goals are to figure out which is appropriate. If you're doing lead gen, where all the traffic you get is first-time visitors that never come back and never browse the site, then best first impression is awesome. That's what you want. But if you're an online store where you want people to browse your catalog, then best first impression is an absolute nightmare and you've done it wrong. And so when you look at these characteristics, the byte to a first element, number of bytes to a first element of content, you're basically looking at how much inlining is happening. And we have found some evidence that having your keywords closer to the top of the source can have some benefits. It's not proven though, and it's a small advantage. It's not a big advantage. So I think in general with those factors, I view them as low priority, and you really have to figure out the nature of your traffic, nature of the site to figure out if it's something you need to address or something you don't. Now, in terms of the core web vitals, typically I don't think that's going to impact your rankings at all. I don't think it's tied to rankings. I think that's largely going to tell you that your theme loader and your hero image are bad, and you should get rid of theme loaders and hero images. And don't pay thousands of dollars to tune your core web vitals. That's a scam. You can simply change your themes until it rolls good numbers, and you can do that for free and get good numbers on core web vitals. So just note that core web vitals, I don't think it's a thing yet. I want to see it be a thing before I tell people they need to worry about it, and I haven't seen evidence of it being a thing. What do you think, Clint? Core web vitals? No, it's your favorite topic.
I think Lee and I have debunked that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we beat it to death. It's done.
All right. It's
Until the numbers change, we're firm in this conviction.
all right. So what are your thoughts on SEMrush and Ahrefs keyword difficulty score against Quora? You know what? I've never let somebody else tell me what I can and can't go for. So if the score is really high on popular tools, good. Stay out of my keyword. What do you think, Clint? Do those scores stop you from going after terms?
No, I don't pay too much attention to them. Actually, I found the harder ones, the ones that they say are harder, are actually easier to rank for than the ones they say that are easy. So it's
Yeah.
to me, it's just a filter. You want to screw with somebody's brain.
Yeah. So, if you have a method that works, stick with it. But, we rank pages and that's not part of our formula. Targeting issues is sometimes bad or under tuning of the page. Bad tuning and under tuning. That's an interesting concept. Bad SEO. I'm kind of drifting away largely from the notion of bad SEO and reframing it as incomplete. Because normally what I see most SEOs doing is part of the work they need to do, but not all of the work. And we call it bad SEO, but I'm not necessarily sure that the part they did was bad. It's just incomplete as to what they needed to do to get the result they wanted. What do you think, Clint? Is it bad SEO or incomplete SEO?
That undertuning stuff, I mean, I intentionally undertune all the time. I'm just trying to get the diversity factors, one of the things that Lee showed us to look at, right? And just another way to look at that data. And I want my basic template on its own will hit 250 to 300 factors all by itself, just from doing what I do, right? And then you look at the rest of that stuff the way Lee and you and Cora and any other tool that says, hey, you haven't addressed this, and go in there and address it even a little bit. That's enough for Google. So, I mean, if under optimizing gets you in the top 3, then I'm totally fine with under optimizing.
Yeah, I think I've seen both. There's a lot out there where it's like you've got the frame on the house, and you're saying but the family's not happy living in it. It's because you don't have the walls and the roof. So it's not fully developed. You didn't hit everything. But I've also seen people have some crazy freaking ideas that they implement that is just absolutely bad SEO. It's bad, misguided, and in the wrong damn direction. So there is that, but I'd probably lean more towards it's incomplete or ineffective.
Yeah.
Than bad.
Yeah,
but there is some bad SEO out there.
We do waste a lot of time on things that just aren't there, or they're low value, like the bytes before the first P tag. I mean, that's low value. That's I need a retainer, and I don't need something to report to my client that I did value. That's what that is.
Look, I fixed the bytes to first P tag, and they're like, damn, I didn't even know that was a problem. Well, I fixed it. So it was a busy month.
All right, so we got Paul showing off the boom emoji that's currently standard, but mine's going to be a special boom emoji. All right, so let's see. Outgoing links. If they affect ranking, how many do I need per page? Well, outbound links, the way I kind of view them is they don't always come into play. Like I measure them in Cora. I have a report for, for this keyword, what are the common outbound links in the top 100 results? And most of the time, they're not useful. I'd say probably 90%, maybe even 95% of the time, it's not useful because it's really dependent on the keyword. So if you say plumber Seattle, there's not common resources that plumbers in Seattle link to. But if you say, go after white hat SEO, then all of a sudden there are these common resources that they link to. It'll be the webmaster guidelines, the quality rater guidelines, the mobile friendliness test tool. And you see all these commonly linked to resources that kind of help categorize your site as being about this white hat SEO topic. So I kind of view those links when they happen. To me, they kind of feel like a different kind of entity. You know, instead of it being a word entity, it's a URL entity that puts you within a topical space. Now, does Google see it that way? You know, I just don't know. I can't prove it, but in those cases, it feels right from an entity perspective, but beyond that, I can't say with any certainty. What do you think, Lee?
You know, I'm gonna approach this a little bit differently because I think some people need to hear this. You know, first, I love Ted and I love Cora, but Ted did not go run several 100,000 tests and identify 16,000 factors that, you know, move the needle. Cora,
Slacker.
yeah, I agree. You know, I love him, but you know, he is a slacker. But so what Cora has is some proven factors in there, but also plausible candidates, like, you know, the outbound link stuff that you programmed in there. There's been talk over time. Is it a factor? Is it not a factor? There's been some testing on it, you know, on that. So Ted puts that sort of stuff into Cora so that if it is a factor or becomes a factor, it's available for you to measure. But much like Bytes the first P tag, you know, it's there for your consideration, not because that's the thing that stops you from ranking number one. So use those things as, you know, possible factors and suggestions to improve your own SEO, you know, on a page. It's not a, you know, there's not 16,000 of them, so you have to follow every single one, even if all your competitors are doing it. Because I watch competitors do stuff all the time. That's just a waste of time, but it's their time to waste. I just won't copy it.
And I think that's totally fair and accurate. A lot of stuff I put into Cora, I put in so that other people can prove me wrong. Like the standard deviations beyond the page one means. That was so people could get the data they need to say Ted is wrong about this. And so, yeah, I put in things. For a while, I had factors in there that were checking if having your keywords closely grouped and towards the top was a factor. I didn't think it would be, but I made the factors anyway because, you know, somebody had a good argument and I wanted to facilitate proving me wrong. We could learn something new. And so I put in those factors that did those metrics. Now, it turned out that you can't measure the effectiveness of that because big pages with keywords throughout is such a predominant signal that you can't actually measure the other signal. You would have to do single variable isolated testing to get to that answer. You can't measure it in the field because there's such overwhelming signal on big pages with keywords throughout. You just can't measure it. All right, let's see. Do you guys have a Facebook group? No, we do not. And there's an awful lot of Facebook groups. I'd hate to make another one that everyone needs to join. If I could get away without a Facebook group, I think that would be good. Maybe some Facebook groups could mention us more instead, and we could hang out in those existing communities and share. All right. Eat. The new eat. You got to say it slow. That's what the extra E is for.
You're just making me hungry, man.
Can you use fake profiles, AI generated images, fake addresses? I haven't seen studies on it. I haven't needed to use it. I'll let Clint talk about it. He's played with it more.
Yeah, you can do all that stuff. If you read the search quality rater guidelines and apply some common sense to your brain and go, how would math find these things? It's have an author page, privacy, contact us, terms of service, and cite stuff inside of your content. And now you have your expertise. A double eat is what they're doing now, right? So you've got it. And so you can certainly generate that with fake stuff. I mean, there's some real people with fake shit out there that are supposedly experts. So why can't you have a fake thing out there and be an expert?
All right, so let's see. What are some thoughts on match and exceed when it comes to backlinks? Well, I don't really compete on backlinks anymore. I've been very fond about competing on referring domains because I feel that referring domains is a diversity signal. It's the number of sources you're drawing authority from. It's also an authority signal, so it's complicated. But the numbers are small, the risk is lower, the costs are better, the time commitment is less, and it's been working. Like, the most important thing is it's been working. So I know that Google Webmaster Tools, the old version in the early days of it, had a report for referring domains. And I was like, isn't that interesting? They gave us a report on this thing, and they very discreetly and very quietly took that report away. No announcement, no fanfare. It's just one day it was there, and then very quietly it was gone. I don't think they built it for no reason. But I don't have a lot of proof other than I'm ranking the shit out of pages using referring domains. So I don't know, take that for what you will, but I'm having very good luck with referring domains and press releases.
It's cheaper to go for referring domains, and then you boost your really good referring backlinks, and you don't need to do as much. When you hear all those people in all those groups and everything crying, I've got more backlinks, they got, all their backlinks are junk. That's what they're doing. They got more referring domains than you, and they're probably boosting up their good ones and burying their good ones in that junk that you're like, this should be penalizing it. It's not.
I think an interesting related question to that, Ted, because I think you and I and Clint might have slightly different answers, or maybe wildly different answers to this, is what's your philosophy on match and exceed for various factors on the page?
Well,
not just off-page referring domains, but on page, like, word count, keyword density, whatever it happens to be. Pick a factor, any factor.
The thing about Quora is that if you did everything that Quora told you to do, you actually won't be over-optimized, technically. You will be tied for first place in all of those factors. You actually have to exceed the Quora recommendation in order to take the lead. And there is a whole universe of possibilities in exceeding the recommended dose. So I don't want to go too far, but if you find there is a way to compete that is off limits to you, like the client says you cannot compete in this fashion, you can, to many extents, compete in other areas by exceeding the recommended dose. And so at the end of the day, all of our pages for a given keyword are being scored. And this is in Google's PageRank patent. to numbers that range between 0 and 1. You get a high precision score between 0 and 1, and then we're stack rank. They just simply sort the scores in descending order. So the question is, are there ways that you could do things to your page that would increase your final score in the stack rank? And can you push those levers or pull those levers?
So Clint, do you like to match or exceed?
I apply
Or I
common
guess
sense.
underperform is another thing.
Clint exceeds. He runs standard deviations in Cora that go well above the competitor maximums.
Yeah, but then I also apply common sense. And it's like, add 700 more words. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Cora's going to tell you what your competitors are doing. And most of the time, your competitors are beating you with long form content. But as testers, we know that you can beat long form content by having higher keyword density. So you can have a 3,000 word page with more entities and better densities and outrank the 31 linear feet of skyscraper. You know, you don't have to compete on amount of content. You can say, you know what, I see amount of content there, and I don't want to compete that way. I'll reconsider it if all else fails. And that's okay. You can always set your priorities. And the reason why you can do that, there's more than one way to rank the page.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always interesting because, you know, Ted tends to prefer who's got the most and let's go, you know, get on parity with that. You know, Clint will go on either side of that. I tend to stay on the low side of that and just be in it within a competitive range.
I've been shifting. Like the thing I've been doing more and more in the past year or so is looking at who got there with the most efficiency. And so I'll see two websites side by side. They'll, you know, high competition keyword. One will be number 4, one will be number 5. And I'm going to look at them. And if one of them got there with, you know, 3,700 referring domains and the other one got there with 48, I'm interested in the 48. Like that person knows something. And so when you start looking at the efficiency that people got to that competitive position, then it tells you where to look to learn things. And so, yeah, I've been looking at the efficiency of the ranking. And when I start calibrating my own efficiency versus like competing tools efficiency, I like find interesting numbers. Like I find I'm ranking with a, you know, 25-to-1 advantage on referring domains. And that's great if you're tuning your own model of minimum viable SEO. The fact that you can quantify it and change your practices to get better advantage ratios, especially in the areas that are important to you. And off page is expensive and hard, so I like to minimize it. Yeah, I think we should all be doing that. Let's see. What is your opinion on affiliate links? Should they be marked as no follows, sponsored, or both? I think no follows super harmless. So if you just want to minimize risk, I don't think there's a big reason to care. But if you're worried about risk, which would be the one reason to care, I think no follow is good enough.
If you're an Amazon affiliate, you should be using sponsored. If you're not, you're hurting your own ranking. We tested that in SIA. Amazon just killed the page if you leave it do follow. For some reason, Google is picking on that particular program pretty hard. So you should use sponsored for sure.
Yeah, good insight there. I am not an Amazon affiliate, so I have no knowledge there. But yeah, good intel. But for my stuff, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you're worried, definitely throw it in there. Who the hell cares?
Yeah, you're not trying to rank those guys or anything. You're trying to rank your own site anyway. So just make a habit of using sponsored. That's how it was intended to be used in the first place. And then Google will be happy with you. Just one less thing to worry about.
Let's see. When a new website is launched, do you build first social media links or press release links? I think it doesn't matter. You can build them in any order. When you hear like accounts of me ranking a page to #1 in Google in 3 weeks, it's usually a press release. I'll get the domain name and the press release before I even set up the hosting. But I don't think it matters. Any thoughts on order of building links?
I want to test that. Like before you make it, while you're writing the page, if you're doing it good, right? You order it and take some time to get it back. You know what URL going to use. Why not start building backlinks? That'd be pretty interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, that's part of my recipe.
I did that in this iteration of the training. I had a site live, but I built the press release out about a week and a half before I actually put WordPress on the domain. And when I put content on it and launched it, it hit page 1 in 7 hours.
Oh, I see.
So the links worked. Now
I know Madge is doing it. He's not doing it intentionally. Like, this is my plan, but he does send out a release, and then the links in his release come live after his release is out. So he's got good success with that. So it all makes sense.
Yeah, I think I need to do. There's because of Ted's history on that. I said, I'm going to do a series of tests on that and to see what sort of competitive terms, how competitive can it be where you can pre-build the links and then launch, and just see what happens.
Yeah, good test to run.
Complicated but fun.
See, there's a question. Are you planning to support languages that don't use white space? It's on my to-do list. I'm not a linguist, and so it's hard for me to support a lot of languages all at once that I don't speak. So I kind of rely on active customers to help me get it right, because it's that collaboration that makes it successful. So me by myself, like, I don't speak Thai, I don't speak Chinese, so I'm really kind of guessing at trying to make it work right. But when I collaborate with a client who is working in those languages, then I can ask them to test. I can say, hey, does this look right to you? And I can get those iterations done faster. And for languages that don't use white space, I've only had one inquiry on it. And so I would need help. So that's what I'm saying, is I would need help to do it. My interest is there, absolutely. Let's see. So is the quantity of referring domains a signal? I guess the question is the quality or the quantity? When I'm addressing referring domain deficits, I don't care about the quality. Does the quality matter? Can it rank your site? Absolutely it can, but that's not the thing I'm fixing. So I kind of see those things as different dimensions. And so what a new website is missing is typically quantity of referring domains. So a brand new website typically won't be front page of New York Times, which would be a quality signal. Typically won't be a CNN story. A new website, front page of CNN. So I think what generally new websites want to do is they want a good start. And the way a new website gets a good start is it looks like a well-established small business or an early medium business. And so if you can make your new website look like a medium business, then then that's a cool trick. And so that's typically the extent of what all this link building is, and you tend to outgrow the need to have a good start. So beyond the good start, you can't really take these practices all the way up to page rank 7. They're too cost prohibitive. They just don't scale that well. You have to get really black hat. So the way you get to page rank 7 and higher is you have to go viral, and you have to do media buys, or you have to really dive into the dark arts. And so you tend to outgrow link building. So it's something that as you climb the ladder, you'll outgrow. And that's why enterprise SEOs think link building is stupid. They all think it's stupid. You have a mountain of authority. Why build more links? You just have to spend it. But what they don't know, what those enterprise SEOs don't know, is that if you're ranking plumbers, then doing link building makes the phone ring or gets people to walk through the door. So just understand that SEO at the bottom of the ladder and SEO at the top of the ladder, they're two different jobs. Thoughts on that? All right. Let's see. A couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. When mass producing content is getting easier, how do you see companies will compete in SEO 5 years from now? I think database data is going to be critical. So if you are an important source of information for people, then being that important source is going to get quoted a lot and referenced a lot. And even in AI, they're going to want to talk about the data that they can prompt from your database of important data that people like. So I think having databases of cool information is going to be one of the things. Information payload on your pages is important. People have been writing custom flowery marketing text that's vacuous, that has no real information or facts. It could be artfully and masterfully crafted, but if it doesn't have facts and information, it doesn't matter. It can be a Robert Frost poem, but I mean, at the end of the day, when people are using AI, they're going to want information and facts. So what's the information payload of your content? Do you have enough facts? Are those facts true? Do you have the complete facts? If you were to survey 1,000 people about what information is your article missing that they would want to know about the topic, have you covered those questions? So I think 5 years from now, there's still going to be best practices. There's still going to be ways to get more people to call a business. All of that'll still exist, but the tools and methods and best practices will be different. And I think it'll be about sculpting the information on your page, getting consensus among a lot of different authorities and database content. It'll feel like a syndication world. I want to syndicate enough to get people to want to visit my site, but I don't want to syndicate everything where they won't have a reason to. And so that's why I've been saying the past few weeks, if you're really good at RSS SEO, that's a skill set that'll probably do well in the next 5 years, is figuring out how to set up the wall of what AI can use and what people have to go behind a login to see. You guys have any predictions?
You want to go, Clint, or you want me to?
I don't know. Ted said a lot, so it's a lot to digest. But for me, I think it's going to be semantic relevance and backlinks is going to be SEO well into the future. I think it's actually going to get easier as Google pivots to all these AI technologies and stuff and new ways of making money. I think PPC will be their main earner for a while until they can figure out a way to shift that. And then search is going to be an afterthought.
Yeah, I kind of go a different way. I'm less a believer in the mass content production getting easier, because I don't see that as the problem with people ranking, the primary problem. And if there is a glut of SEO'd content out there, then SEO just shifts to other things. So I don't think that it's the solution. And if it becomes the solution, I think it shifts to other things, so that SEO is still going to be necessary. I think it's always just figuring out, what are the factors where you can gain advantage. And everybody right now is rushing to AI content production. So we'll see.
I mean, they're still out there teaching, write more content and rank for more things. I mean, that's kind of intuitive, right? And then Google's like, I don't want your fucking content. We don't want you to write no more content. We got enough content. Write better content. How about that? Write less and make it better. So I think if you figure that out and what better means to that algorithm, because it ain't reading, it's got to be something else, then you're going to be pretty stable well into the future, or at least till I retire. I'm going to be fine.
And so with that, I think we'll end there. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions this week, but we're over the hour. And so we'll see you again next week. Thank you, everyone. Be sure to check out SEOintel.com. That's Clint's community. TestedSEOtraining.com. That's Lee's course. And of course, SEO Spring Training. That's Terry Samuel's conference that's coming up in April that most of us will be at. So take care, everyone. Have a